Welcome. I feel the fire burning around my heart and around my solar plexus today, because that's the nature of the energies that I will be painting here. Allow me to get myself here. The energy is often different when I decide to prepare myself to come here, and then I press record and then I'm actually here. It's always a little bit more calmer, a little bit more quieter. It's that feeling that you get when you meditate for a long time and then you realize that 90% of your thoughts are pointless. And then you realize you might as well go throughout your life not thinking thoughts. Yeah. The key word of today's painting is going to be disillusionment. Whatever that is. You notice moments when you, I don't know, is it moments, is it situation, is it people, instances, circumstances, happenings, when you see somebody, you've never seen somebody like this before, you've never seen a person that looks like this, you've never seen somebody that dresses up, walks and talks and holds their purse in the way they do, and then you admire them. You genuinely feel appreciation for them. You think that they are unique, that they're authentic, that they are raw, that they are real, that they are brave for standing out in such a way. And you might as well even be triggered with their presence. You know, you might not necessarily like them, you might like them as well, but it's not necessarily that you like them, it's more so that they just showcase something different, something else that is possible. And then you see them and you're like, it just reminds you that it could have been you showcasing that same thing, but you never thought of it. Or even if you did, you never allowed or dared to go that way, and here they are doing it instead of you, next to you, with you, for you. And then you keep walking, and then down the road you realize and you find out that actually there's like a whole production line of people who are exactly like that one person. It shows you that that one person is not the only one out there. It shows you that they were just a copy of a copy of a copy of so many other people who are basically a copy of each other. They all have the same hairstyle, same clothing style, same way of walking and talking and holding their purse. And now it's you who needs to go through the disillusionment process. It's you who needs to take them down off the pedestal. Perhaps feel that sinkhole that opened inside of your heart and acknowledge the cringe of projection. That thing that you thought was authentic and real and unique and raw was basically you projecting your own self onto them, or your own experience of them onto them. And they might have nothing to do with this. And maybe the furthest that they go in those lines is that each and every single one of them, they're a copy of each other. They all believe, they truly do, that they are unique. And you have to, you know, bridge the gap in between what you thought was real and the realization that kind of puts you in a place of asking, is anything real? Is anyone real? And all the feelings that come with it. And it's a cringe. Sometimes it's a cringe. second coffee. Well, I didn't mean to. Okay. This is one of my favorite features of life on Earth, is that you get to change. How do you say that in English? There's a term for that. Turntables. So if you're in one side of the table for a very long time, then at that part of the table you might be asking, why are they like this? Why is this like that? You know, you don't see what's on the other side, so you're asking, why is it like this? And then if you genuinely ask those questions, I believe the life will give you an opportunity, and it will organize itself in a way that you experience being on the other side. It doesn't give you answers. It doesn't give you this is like this because of this and that. It organizes itself, that it puts you in the space where you experientially, organically, through your own senses, through your own experience, you can see what they see. You can be what they are. You can be where they are. And then you can, you know, learn, expand, humble yourself down when you realize that things are the way they are because of this and that. Or you can also come to that point of realizing, I see what you did there. And you may not like what you see. You may not like what you see. Again, it's a cringe. And I've seen over the last few days a couple of other creators who are in the same corner of the internet, so to say, one next to another. It's like you can put them one next to another and they kind of make sense when you put them one next to another. Some of them have been expressing that cringe. They've been quite riled up because they realized that what they are doing and the way that their colleagues are doing it isn't always necessarily rooted in truth. And they themselves are rooted in truth so much that they had to call themselves out and be honest and admit that they have an opportunity to say things, to be things, to do things. I'm here too as well. That aren't necessarily true, but you also know from the other side, when you're on the receiving end, when you're on the other side of the camera, that you can as well find yourself in some really dark times. That, you know, hearing some things and seeing some people doing them can save your life, literally. It can save a day at least. It helps. It soothes. It protects. It nurtures. It accompanies. And it makes feel good. And it helps to go... It helps to go through time and space. It helps to breathe. It helps to find voice. But then you come... But then you come to the other side of that equation where you're on the other side of the camera, and it's kind of like it's kind of like a starter kit. It's given to you. You can. You're being presented an opportunity of saying exactly those things that you heard when you were on the other side, and keep saying them because you know how helpful they used to be to you when you were there. So if you want to keep helping, just keep saying the same things that you were told. Those things that saved your life, those things that shaped you into the person that you are. You can keep giving them to people. But you also get to see that they're not always true. And then you get to choose. Do you want to keep doing it? Because you know it works. you know it helps? Or do you want to be true to yourself and opt out? And then there were some people who were very angry about it, because they don't want to lie. And then of course there were those who shamelessly lie, and it's obvious that they lie. They expose themselves, knowingly or unknowingly, they expose themselves, but they keep shining, and their attitude is like, I'm lying and look at me lying. I'm lying and you love it. And it's a cringe. And it's a cringe. Like, I don't want to touch it. A couple of days ago I was doing another energy reading, and I was getting an energy that seemed really, really big. It seemed too big for me to just paint it on the table. I had to take some time to center myself and to process it so that I know what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. Because it's a very touchy subject. It's very delicate. It's very potentially painful to some people. So I didn't want to just, you know. And I was surprised when I actually came to the realization that no matter how big it seemed, now the key word is seemed. Because previously, when you're in that energy, there is no seemed. There is no seems. There is nothing seems. It is. It is. It's your lived, embodied, grounded physical experience that it is. There is nothing that seems to be different. It is. And whoever tells you that it isn't, they can go fuck themselves. Because that's how difficult it is to be in those energies. But then when you go through them and you come to the other side, you realize that, yeah, it seemed big. Sometimes you're living in bubbles of energies, and they create an illusion of it's really difficult, it's really heavy, it's really big, it's really important, it's really massive, it's really crucial. And then you come out of those energies and you see that that was just a bubble of illusion. And you can encapsulate years of that experience of being in that bubble with one sentence. That's what surprised me, that I was able to encapsulate all of it into one sentence. And as I did so, it felt as if I closed a chapter and opened another one. It was like, yeah, I got into that one sentence and I heard myself speaking to myself inside, congratulations, you passed. This is the whole point. It's just that for the fun of being human on the planet, it seems like it isn't. The vision that I was getting, that represents the energy that I was unpacking and reforming into one single sentence, was a mountain being climbed by two people simultaneously. One person is climbing from the sunny side and the other person is climbing from the shadow side. They're both climbing together at the same time, but not together. They might not even know that they are doing it together. It's like they're put together as like a couple of people. They might or might not be aware of it, that they're not alone. And they're climbing that mountain. And climbing the mountain is the emotional development process. It's a process of emotional development that is ideally, theoretically, supposed to happen to humans when they are very young, when they come into the planet, and then they have childhood and teenagehood and early adolescence. In that time, ideally, theoretically, they're supposed to go through this emotional maturation process, but because of life on Earth being life on Earth, shit happens sometimes, and people have to grow up quicker, or they don't get to grow up at all, or part of their childhood is stolen, or their whole childhood is stolen, or their whole teenagehood is remodified to be something else. And then they get a chance to finish or to continue that development sometimes later in life, and that continuation presents itself as climbing the mountain. And it doesn't seem like climbing the mountain, because as they're climbing the mountain, they also have a carrot on the stick, something that is being promised to them, something that happens when they come to the top of the mountain. And then hold on a second. S. Okay. As they're climbing that mountain, they're being told things like, once when you come to the top of the mountain, then you will, find a place on top of the mountain that has the nicest view, and then you will together with somebody else, maybe this other person on the other side of the mountain, and then you will combine your finances, you will go to the bank, and then you will get a credit, and then you will buy bricks and build a house that has a view, and you will be happy ever after. And people go on the mountain with that promise of like, yeah, I'm climbing the mountain so that I can build a house on top of that hill. And they go and they go and they go for ages and decades on that mountain. And then once when they reach that mountaintop, they realize that that physical house that was promised to them, those bricks and that money to buy those bricks with, is actually a metaphor for building the house of their own internal self. It's like building their sense of self. Your sense of self can also be seen as a house. What makes you you? What materials you incorporate into yourself that makes you you, in terms of how do you think? How do you organize yourself? How do you structure yourself? How do you dress up? How do you speak? How do you walk? How do you hold a purse? And then they realized that it was never really about that physical house. It was more about becoming the house within. And once when they realized that, this is it. Like, they're on top of the mountain. And they can go down. And it's a bittersweet energy, because they have to grieve that part of themselves that was living naively, thinking that they're going to get a house. But then when they come to the top, they realize that they don't even want to have a house. Why would you want to have a house on top of the mountain, isolated from everybody else? There are so many other options how you can live life. Then they also realize that this desire to have a house on top of the hill wasn't even theirs. It was a carrot on the stick. It was something that was used to lead them and guide them to the top of the mountain. And again, it's a bittersweet feeling of realizing that that was it, just to build a house within. And there was again this disillusionment process, that you wanted something that wasn't your own desire. And it's like, yeah, you're happy. But you're also kind of flipped on the other side, and you're sad. Your past self is sad, your current self is happy. You can enjoy the walk down the hill. What also happens in the process of climbing this mountain is that you develop an ultrasound vision. It's like once when you go through that one disillusionment of realizing that what you thought you wanted isn't what you wanted. It's something that was used to drive you in a particular direction. Or when you realize that there's way much more on the other side than you thought initially. Or that nothing is what it seems, and that I'm just like, everything that I'm saying, it falls short for illusionment of life that is constantly present in everything. And you get to see it, and it just kind of gets to expand itself. It comes from the top of the mountain down. It's like you get the higher vision, you learn to see things. You can say it from your soul, from the vantage point of your soul, from the observer of you, from the self behind the self. You get to see things, but you also get not to, because just because you see everything up until this point doesn't mean that you now see everything for everybody else as well. You don't. You still get to play peekaboo with the world. I guess for the sake of fun, surprise, because there's always something new that you can learn. There's always something new that you can experience. But you also don't get back into the point of, okay, well, I know nothing. Some people do. Yeah, it's this point of, you look back and you see through, you get this ultrasound perspective through things, and it gives you a sense of, I mastered it, I made it, congratulations, I'm clean, I'm disillusioned. There's like a fire that starts burning inside of you, and you're just like very determined without any trying to make a different choice, to make a different decision, to go another way, to position yourself differently, to hold your body in a different way. But equally so, life can then put you in another, or you put yourself in another area where you're back at start. And it's like, yeah, you're at a place of power where you have a greater vantage point because you climbed the mountain, but then you also can realize that you don't know anything. And that's the cringe. I think this cringe is beautiful cringe. It's a really good place to be. It's a bit cringy, but it's a good cringe. It's not a bad cringe. And that's the cringe that I've seen some of the other creators going through when they realize that they can't keep lying. I'm speaking particularly about energy readers and tarot readers and intuitives and channelers who create this sort of a perception that they know more than you do from the other side of the camera. And then people from the other side of the camera, they come to them for answers, for guidance, and they appreciate them like they were gods, and they're not. And some of them, they get to be honest and admit, no, I don't know more than you do. I really don't. And some of them, they be like, yeah, I know more than you do. And you love it. And you love me. And that's a cringe. I think I'm gonna feel it. I'm gonna leave it there. I feel like I reached a very clean slate within me. It's a good place to leave it. Thank you for being here.